Hello, hello, hello. Bianca Williams here, therapist, coach, wife, and mom. And I am here to drop another self growth tip on you guys. So, if this is your first time here, first of all, welcome. I encourage you to stay for a while, check out some other videos. What I like to do is drop self growth tips from my philosophy, from my experience, my learnings, and hopefully you find it helpful. These are practical things that I have experienced in my own life and or have been on someone's journey who's experienced it in their life. And so like I said, follow me, and if you have any suggestions for things you would like to hear me speak about, leave that. But just continue to support, and I'll continue to drop more. So today what I would like to talk about is purpose. And so if you've been paying attention to some of my other videos, and I have one that talks about finding this balance in the 5 domains in your life and blending it in. And some of those different domains can talk about like work, or can talk about family, relationships. There was, several different things that it spoke to, community. One of them, though, that stands out for what I'm going to talk about today was spirituality, where it's essentially talks about or focuses on you having a meaning for life, a meaning for life. That was a little bit of a tongue twister for me. A meaning for life, and things that motivate you, that help ground your values and things like that. And so obviously one of those things that will show up in spirituality is being able to find your purpose. And so while this concept seems very vaguely familiar, right? A lot of people are like, yeah, we're living life to find our purpose. I'm going to dig in a little deeper about how purpose shows up for you. And so to just, first of all, define purpose, it is the reason for which something is done or created, or for which something exists. And so essentially what I take away from that is that purpose is not something that conveniently just falls in your lap. It is something that is created just for you. It is something that's meant just for you. The things that you end up doing in the world are things that can only be done the way they're done by you. And while all of that is true, I will say purpose can be missed, right? Like you can have all of this is meant for you, and miss the signs and the warnings, because the way purpose works is it starts to show up in your life. It starts to plant seeds. It starts to grow, right? And so it's something that you have to pay attention to and want to act on, otherwise you'll miss it. And one of the things that I speak on or just think about when I say you have to pay attention to it and act on it is a metaphor I'm going to use, which is like, imagine you're in a room with a bunch of people, and everybody has these jars in front of them, and in their jars are these marbles. And so everybody has marbles in their jars, but when you look at your marbles up close, you see that there are things that speaking to you, things that are aspirations for you, things that are even like accomplishments, like, yeah, my dream car, my home ownership, right? Like a career I love. Like these marbles, each marble has something on there that is speaking to something that is meant for you. Now, you could look at those marbles in this jar and say, well, let me look and see what everybody else has in their jar, because this is what's in my jar, but I see she might get more in her jar, he may have less in his jar. So, what does that mean? But that's not really the point, right? Like everybody has marbles in their jar, and their marbles in their jar meant for them, right? Like even if you could see it, it's not even something you can actually attain, because it's not your purpose in that jar. Your purpose is in your jar. And so to be most active in that, you really want to pay very, very close attention to your jar. And for another, I guess, layer to how purpose can be missed is, let's say, you have these marbles in your jar and you're like, I actually want this. I do feel like this is for me. And you start trying to open that jar and it's getting stuck. Like you're twisting it and it's not quite budging. While physically it seems like it's the jar that's not, working, or, you're not strong enough to open it. It's more of a metaphorical thing in which you are subconsciously not able to open this jar because you are not confident or competent that you're ready for what's in that jar, or that you deserve what's in that jar. And so sometimes we are holding ourselves back from reaching our purpose or acting on our purpose because we don't feel like it's for us, or we're scared, or all of these different things. And so um, I want to speak about an example that I experienced with starting my business. This wasn't the first time I really paid attention to purpose happening in this way. This is just one of, more of the recent times that I just want to speak on. But I remember when I started, getting these messages and things that it just seemed like, I don't know, like something was speaking out to me. I guess the seed was getting planted, right? It was starting to grow inside of me. And to be honest, I never saw myself as a business owner. I never saw myself as someone who worked for myself. I thought of therapy as, you're in this institution or some office setting, and it's connected to someone else's business. And so, and it's, part of this, my thinking in this way was just, I had never seen business owners that, I knew that was in my family. And so this was just not a concept that I truly could own, just from, it's not that I didn't know people owned the businesses and that, were private practice and all of this stuff. It just wasn't something I really understood was meant for me. So anyway, so the first time I started getting messages about that was, it probably started when I was getting burnt out in the work I was doing. I didn't like the way it was structured. And so I would say, there was something in me that said, this doesn't work for me in this way, and I want to step away from it if I have to do it this way, right? So I'll say I started there. But as far as private practice and moving into more of the work that was, that ended up being an evolution of that, my first supervisor, who was my mentor, she had her own business. She had her own business even when I was working with her at this agency. And she has always been very independent and very encouraging and supportive. And she started talking to me, this was years after I had, been working for her, left the company, she left the company, all of that. And she said, you can have a lot of success in this. You can have a lot of success. You're very talented. I think you would enjoy this, right? And I'm still, light years away from the reality of what this means. So I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds good. And, of course, she's telling me about it, and I'm learning about her world and all of that. But it didn't stop there. I also started having friends and coworkers who also started, opening up their businesses in the same industry. They're therapists as well. And they were sharing their journey to opening up their business and how practical it is, and how freeing it is. And so I'm just, paying attention more. And I'm like, I don't know why I'm all of a sudden getting all of these messages and people talking to me about private practice, right? I didn't know, it just was like all of a sudden it was happening. And it seemed like all in 1 year, right? Like I remember it just started from January that year, and it just was happening. Like every month, every few months, I was getting more and more information. And so I could have just said, well, they're just talking about their journey. That's not me. And just ignored it. But I just started paying attention to it because it was happening so often. And it made me start to think this is a possibility for me. And so, I started to learn more on my own, ask more questions, and just start to prepare myself for the possibility of this shift over the course of the following year. And, as you know, today I have my own business. It's doing very well. I'm scaling, actually. I'm getting to newer heights in my business, and I enjoy it a lot. I love the work that I do. And I'm so happy that I got those messages. And so, imagine, and the way I look at the way the messages kept coming to me, this is the purpose piece, right? This is the way the messages kept coming to me. Imagine that you got a new car, let's just say a Nissan, I don't know, Pathfinder, right? Like, I'm just giving an example. And when you drive on the road, you see a variety of different vehicles, but for some reason, now that you're interested in this Nissan Pathfinder, or you're, recently purchased this, it seems like you can easily identify and spot all of the Nissan Pathfinders on the road. It's just like your interest, or the lane your brain is in, is able to just kind of pull in every time you see one, every time there's one on the road, now you see them. So it feels like they're all over the world. And before it maybe didn't feel like that. And so that's kind of how I would say your purpose shows up for you. It's like all of these messages, and it almost feels like intrusive a little bit, but it's like, because it's meant for you, right? You're going to get all of the signs and all of the messages that say, hey, this, until you get it. And you're like, okay, I can move forward in that. But like I said, you can ignore it. You can, just stay on the shelf. You can just continue to just twist at that jar, look around at other people's jars and marbles, and not really lean into that those things in that jar are for you and they're great if you just can unlock your thinking and your mind and just open it. So I just say that to say that purpose doesn't happen by accident. Purpose happens on purpose. And so I like that. Purpose happens on purpose. And so if you just pay attention to it and lean into it, you'll find yourself reaching all of your goals, having all of the blessings that's meant for you, because the things that are coming to you are only for you. They're not for anybody else. And there's a reason why that is, even if you don't understand it. I hope that was helpful, just hearing me talk about purpose today. Again, my name is Bianca Williams. I'm the therapist, coach, wife, and mom. And I am always here to drop self-growth tips. If there is a topic that you want me to talk about, just share that. Leave me feedback, leave me comments, rate my sessions, follow me. And I look forward to being here to support you and dropping more self-growth tips in the future. Bye.